Despite the controversy and misinformation surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2, one thing that nobody is disputing is how good the games look. Nintendo really delivered with their Switch 2 reveal direct. Even though the show only featured games within the first year or so, it's still a very strong lineup. Like many people watching the direct, I expected the special one more final thing for the direct to be a new 3D Mario game. I mean, it just made sense. We haven't gotten one since Odyssey in 2017, unless you want to count Bowser's Fury that came with the re-release of Super Mario 3D World. And we knew that the Mario Odyssey team was working on a new game. So I thought, like many, that was the shoo-in for the launch window of the Nintendo Switch 2. And the opening shots of that final trailer didn't do much to shake that notion. It looked very similar to Mario Odyssey, which at first was a little disappointing for me because my sort of weird prediction that I've had in the back of my head for what the next 3D Mario game would be for a while now is the idea that the next 3D Mario would be like a Super Mario cyberspace type game, where somehow Mario would get sucked into the cyber world and then he could kind of go to all these different really cool like Tron-esque environments. Now, this is not my original prediction. I think I saw it on I saw it on one of those like fake 4chan threads that had Switch 2 quote unquote leaks, and it was like, oh, the next 3D Mario is Mario in cyberspace or whatever. So so I'm not saying that this is my original thing, but when I read that, even though I knew the rest of the art, like based on the rest of the post, I knew it was totally fake because it was talking about a bunch of weird stuff that wasn't going to happen with Switch 2. But that idea intrigued me. It kind of got my mind racing with ideas and how they could implement the new hardware features of the Switch 2. So all that is to say, Mario cyberspace truthers stay winning. In any case, and this is embarrassing, but I honestly wasn't even sure it wasn't still a Mario game until the trailer actually started with the gameplay. Yes, even after seeing Donkey Kong punch through the wall, I thought it could still be a Mario game featuring Donkey Kong or something. Now, of course, what we were actually watching was the reveal of the first 3D Donkey Kong platformer game since Donkey Kong 64, and only the second 3D platformer in the series' history. Donkey Kong Bananza was revealed to be released exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2 on July 17th, 2025. It's amazing that, to me and so many others who were dead set on seeing the next Mario game, Nintendo was able to announce the only other possible game that wouldn't have left us disappointed with such an announcement. Since then, we've gotten a Nintendo Treehouse livestream featuring gameplay, and it looks really good. The destructible environments and mine setting look really impressive. Having DK be able to punch his way through the terrain is a fun way to go with the character, and in my opinion, making the game a collectathon was the right move. It's pretty obvious as to why the game evokes so much of the style and exploration found in Super Mario Odyssey, and that's because Donkey Kong Bananza is being developed by the same studio that made Super Mario Odyssey in the first place, Nintendo's EPD8. There were rumors going back a couple years now that the Odyssey team was working on a Donkey Kong game, with some going as far as to speculate the game started out as an expansion or DLC to Odyssey that eventually grew in scope into its own game. Now, we likely won't know how accurate those leaks were until after the game is released, but there's been more details found since then to strengthen the Odyssey connection. In a leaked promo art for the game, the little purple gemstone companion thing on Donkey Kong's shoulder is seemingly replaced by a young version of Pauline, a character who's been with Donkey Kong ever since his first game, and most recently reappeared in Super Mario Odyssey. There's another interesting detail with this art. You can see Pauline has a purple gem bracelet that is reminiscent of the bigger purple gem companion. Now, there are some theories as to what this means, but it's weird to me that nobody else is talking about the far more prominent detail that this means that this game could very likely be a prequel to Super Mario Odyssey. There have been some attempts to place all previous Mario games into some sort of a cohesive timeline. Game theory is one that comes to mind just right off the top of my head, but that can really only get you so far. Similar to The Legend of Zelda, each new entry, with a few exceptions, is treated more like a unique take on these characters and the worlds they inhabit. Now, if Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be a straight-up prequel to Super Mario Odyssey, it would be the second time Nintendo has really created a sort of timeline through use of a prequel for the Mario series, at least that I can think of, the first being Yoshi's Island. Odyssey is an interesting game to use as a jumping off point, since it sort of tacitly acknowledges all of the previous 3D Mario entries, with more of an emphasis on 64 and Sunshine. Now, this is where we get into my concerns with this decision, which, if you can't already tell, are less about Donkey Kong Bonanza specifically, and more so what this means going forward with future Mario and Donkey Kong games. Now, obviously, all of the Mario characters already exist in the same world, but Donkey Kong has always been a unique case. He's had a sort of degree of separation from the rest of the cast in the mainline games, at least until it's time to get everybody together for Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, a movie, and whatever it is they do when the Rabbids are in town. It's like Donkey Kong has been the king of his own jungle. Now, if he's in a new 3D game that is directly tied to the Mario 3D platformers, where do you go next? Now, does the next 3D Mario game have to be set in the same world as Odyssey? Is the next 3D Mario a crossover game that features this iteration of Donkey Kong working alongside the plumber? Look, to boil down my concern into one sentence, I worry that this new Donkey Kong being so tightly connected to the mainline Mario series will lead to a sort of homogenization of Nintendo's franchises, with Mario and DK being made by the same studio, with the same art style, and now in the same timeline. How long until all of Nintendo's 3D platformer series start to feel stale? Do we make a new 3D Yoshi game, for example, that looks and plays exactly like Odyssey? With Nintendo starting to focus on multimedia based on their IP, I could see them going down an MCU path, where all of these franchises and characters are more tightly connected and integrated, but it comes at the cost of each character's unique attributes and style in the games. Now, with all that being said, it's very possible that this isn't actually a big deal, and the inclusion of Pauline in Donkey Kong Bonanza will be more of like a background arc. Like maybe we see Donkey Kong return her to her home at the end, and then they rename the city New Donk City to thank Donkey Kong. That would be fun. Now, the yarn that could very well unravel my entire argument here, to mix metaphors, could be Yoshi's Island, a Super Mario World prequel that ties into the mainline Mario series at the end and then becomes more of a unique series after that. Now, in any case, we likely won't know if that is the plan until we see what the next 3D Mario game is, which I should mention I am still looking forward to. But in the meantime, I'll just be looking forward to playing Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch 2. That is, whenever I decide to sell my soul and firstborn son and probably a couple of other things to be able to afford one, I mean, yeah.